So, let's talk about volcanoes. I mean, they're one of the planet's most awesome and terrifying forces, right? For thousands of years, we've seen them as these incredible destroyers, just burying cities and ending civilizations. But you know what? That's really only half the story. They're also creators. They're responsible for some of the most fertile lands on Earth, valuable resources, even clean energy. So which is it? Destroyer or creator? Well, the crazy thing is, they're both. Let's dive in and explore the two faces of the world's most powerful mountains. To really get a feel for this power, let's actually go back in time. Just imagine for a second, you're standing near the Bay of Naples in the year 79 AD. All of a sudden, the day just plunges into this unnatural darkness. The air gets thick with falling ash, and the only light you can see is coming from this terrifying fire on the mountain. And this isn't some movie script. This is a real account from the Roman author Pliny the Younger, and his words drop us right into the middle of one of history's most infamous disasters.
That disaster, of course, was caused by Mount Vesuvius, and it's going to be our guide as we explore the raw, destructive power of a volcano, a story of fire, ash, and a city literally frozen in time.
You see, the thing is, this whole tragedy, it didn't just happen out of the blue. There were signs. A massive earthquake had actually hit the area 17 years earlier. And in the days right before the eruption, people felt smaller tremors, but they just brushed them off as normal. And then it began. A colossal column of ash just blasted into the stratosphere. But the real killers? Those were the pyroclastic flows that started that night. These things are unstoppable avalanches of superheated gas and rock, moving at hurricane speeds, just incinerating and suffocating everything. In just 2 days, entire cities were completely wiped off the map.
Okay, so you often hear this comparison to an atomic bomb, and it's mind-boggling, right? Vesuvius unleashed 100,000 times the thermal energy of the bomb dropped on Hiroshima. But here's the key thing you gotta understand. It's how that energy was released. It wasn't one single instantaneous explosion that would have just vaporized the city. Instead, it was this sustained 2-day-long nightmare of heat and material that buried Pompeii, preserving it in this grim, incredible time capsule.
So what made Vesuvius so incredibly violent? Well, it all comes down to what kind of volcano it is. Vesuvius is a stratovolcano. It's built up from this thick, sticky, gas-rich magma. Think of it like shaking up a bottle of champagne. The pressure just builds and builds until, boom, a massive, violent explosion. This is totally different from a shield volcano, like the ones you see in Hawaii. Their lava is runny and fluid, so it flows much more gently. And that difference in the magma is everything. It's what decides if you get a fiery river or an explosive catastrophe.
Okay, so this brings us to the big central paradox here. We've just walked through the absolute horror a volcano can unleash. So, why on earth would anyone choose to live next to one? Why do millions upon millions of people today call the slopes of active volcanoes their home? The answer is pretty surprising.
Well, the answer lies in that other face of the mountain we talked about. So here in Section 2, we're going to explore the creative power of volcanoes as a source of life, wealth, and energy that has been drawing people in for centuries.
So, what's the number one reason? It's pretty simple, actually. Amazing farming. The very same ash that can bury a city, over time, it breaks down and creates some of the most incredibly fertile soil on the entire planet. It's just packed with nutrients like magnesium and potassium, and it holds on to water beautifully. So the agent of destruction actually becomes a source of abundance. And it's not just about what grows on top of the soil. Volcanoes are also like these giant geological elevators. They bring valuable elements from deep inside the earth right up to the surface where we can get to them. I mean, take the island of Cyprus. Its name literally means copper. Ancient volcanic activity there created such rich deposits that it became the main source of copper for the entire Roman Empire. Pretty amazing, right?
And, in our modern world, we found another huge benefit: clean energy. The immense heat from that underground magma can be harnessed to create totally clean, renewable power. In countries like Iceland and New Zealand, they drill down, use that volcanic heat to create high-pressure steam, and that steam drives turbines to generate electricity. They're literally powering their nations with the heat of the earth.
Okay, but the story doesn't stop at the volcano's base. The influence of these things isn't just local. A single really big eruption can have consequences that ripple out across the entire planet, affecting climates and economies thousands of miles away. This is where the story gets bigger than a local risk and becomes a global one. And that makes it relevant to every single one of us, no matter where we live.
And this leads to a really fascinating, almost contradictory impact on our climate. In the short term, a major eruption can actually cool the planet.
It blasts sulfur dioxide way up into the stratosphere, which forms these tiny droplets that act like a giant mirror, reflecting sunlight back out into space. But over the long haul of geological time, volcanoes have done the exact opposite. They've released enormous amounts of greenhouse gases, like CO2, that led to major periods of global warming. So they're both a thermostat and a furnace.
And in today's hyper-connected world, the economic impact would be insane and immediate. Just one major eruption could shut down global air travel, shatter supply chains, and wreck agriculture worldwide. Risk models estimate the hit to the global economy could be, wait for it, $1.6 trillion from one eruption. Just let that sink in for a second. So this all leads us to the final and maybe the most crucial question of all. Back in 79 AD, the people of Pompeii couldn't read the signs. They had no idea what was coming. But today, we've got satellites, sensors, supercomputers, the whole shebang. So, have we finally figured out how to tame the beast?
The key is learning to spot what scientists call precursory signals. It's a fancy term, but think of them as the volcano giving us tells, like in a poker game. The ground might start to swell up. You might get swarms of tiny little earthquakes. The mix of gases seeping out might change, or the ground itself could get hotter. These are the clues that tell us the monster is stirring.
So today, we have this really systematic process. It's not just guesswork. We monitor volcanoes constantly, from space and on the ground, collecting these massive streams of real-time data. And this is the cool part, we feed all that data into AI models that can spot these incredibly subtle patterns that a human might totally miss. And all of that lets us issue earlier, more accurate warnings that actually save lives. And AI is the real game changer here. It's helping us crack a problem that's bugged volcanologists for ages. See, the old thinking was that every volcano has its own unique personality, its own set of rules. But what AI is showing us is that there are common predictive patterns across lots of different volcanoes. That means a model trained on data from a volcano in Alaska can help us forecast an eruption in Indonesia. It's a massive breakthrough that could make people safer all over the world. So, here we are, back where we started, wrestling with this incredible tension. Our technology is getting so much smarter. We can listen to the planet's heartbeat like never before. But does that mean we're taming the beast, or are we just getting better at dodging its punches? Can we ever truly outsmart the most powerful forces on our own planet? That, I think, is the ultimate question.